Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the RENNSPORT Community League, to the final race of Season 6. You guys voted for Hockenheim out there, so Hockenheim it is. The first community vote in RCL that didn't go to Road Atlanta, interestingly enough. And today the championship is going down between Rohan den Hult and Dominik Ladler, with plenty of other big names here today who will try to show themselves. We're talking about last race's winner, Kimi Hapler. We are talking about Maximilian Dehn. We are talking about Julian Chicot giving it a shot. Of course, Enrico Bräuninger always present, and so much more. But I won't have to bring you the action alone here today, because alongside me in the booth, as always, Tim Ireland. Welcome, Tim.
Hello, Lino. Hello, everyone on Twitch. Hi, how are you guys? I don't care. You're all dead to me. You didn't vote for Road Atlanta. Sorry, it's just the way it is.
Just the way it is, nothing to be changed about. But yeah, we have, I think, a very, very interesting racing weekend here today, because of course today we have the finale of RCL Season 6, and tomorrow we will have the Creator Cup. The last Creator Cup went also to Hockenheim for the final race. This time without Hockenheim, but still community vote left to do. So if you want to have a say in where the finale goes, currently it's between Monza and Road Atlanta. Go out and vote on social media and on Discord. I think it will be lots of fun. So what do you expect from this weekend, seeing, I think, some of our best drivers in this race here today, and tomorrow some of the big names in sim racing?
Well, I mean, they're very different races, I suppose, in a way, but today, Hockenheim, joking aside, Hockenheim is a great GT3 track. We've had some really great races here for us, and the R1 events. I always seem to enjoy the R1 events at Hockenheim. So it's a bit of a showdown, I suppose, for our title leaders, with Rohan den Hult and Dominik Ladler both pretty close together coming into the final round. So I'm expecting to see some spirited fighting at the front of the field, shall we say? And hopefully not too spirited.
I don't know.
Tomorrow.
I don't know if you remember the last time we went to Hockenheim in RCL, but you've seen this certain yellow Porsche and our championship leader fighting it out for a long time in that race. It was interesting, and I think today will be no different to that.
Yeah, a lot of people opting for the Porsche today. We seem to have a very Porsche-heavy field, but luckily we've got a few liveries for Porsches now, so most people seem to be using different ones, and it's a bit easier to tell them apart. But yeah, I think there could be some really good fighting today. I'm looking forward to today's race.
And of course, it's very interesting. We have the defending and current championship leader, Rohan den Hult. He's on 132 points. At the same time, we have Dominik Ladler. He has been very strong at Hockenheim, and he is 12 points behind. He still has a shot at the championship. With Max Dehn, Kimi Hapler, Ali Zay, Enrico Bräuninger, and Julian Chicot in the mix, I think all of these 6 cars are definitely contenders for the lead, and even some underdogs like Mark Heworth and Tony Thomas, also Joe Serrero, who really improved over the last few weeks, I feel like. It could be super interesting. It just depends on a few cars getting in between the two of them, and the championship is wide open in anyone's favor.
Yeah, Dominik kind of needs to take to the front pretty early and just kind of do what he can do, really, and then it's all up to where Rohan den Hult finishes. But yeah, like you said, there's a few good drivers here today, and it's definitely not going to be easy getting past any of them if you get dropped behind. They're all pretty experienced guys. They know their way around RENNSPORT. They know their way around sim racing cars, and they all know how to block. And yeah, getting past on Hockenheim, if somebody knows how to block, isn't always the easiest job.
Yeah, I mean, Hockenheim, very raceable track, but of course this has two sides to it. You can attack in many places, but you can also come back a lot of times. We've seen plenty of switchback moves in the past. We could see anything here today, and we are right now in qualifying, and we see, of course, Maximilian Dehn having a bit of a gap, but Ronan Hood and Dominic Ladler separated by 9 thousandths of a second. This is how close it's been between the two of them. Of course, they got their points through very, very different ways over the season, but in the end, they are so close in terms of overall skill, I'd say.
Yeah, they seem to have... There are skill points in different sections of the tree, if you want to use an RPG kind of analogy, but they both seem to have kind of a pretty equal pace and ability overall over the whole season. So I think for Rowan here, I think getting a good qualifying lap in and being near the front of the grid is going to be super important for him.
Yeah, and what we will actually do for today, since it is basically a shootout between the two of them, we will let you guys have a little vote, or a little betting competition, if you want to say so, on who will win today's race. I'm just setting it up right now. But in the next 20 minutes, you can vote for either Dominic Ladler or Ronan Hood, and I did a slight mistake there. But let's just repeat it. There we go. Dominic Ladler or Ronan Hood. Who do you think will become the next repeating RCL champion? Meanwhile, Kimi Harpla on a quick lap, but they also seem to be very quick in Sector 1 and Sector 2. But Sector 3 is really where Maximilian Dehn is getting his time from. Alizaya, the same. Sector 1, very strong. Of course, also very short. Coming through the final turn. And seems like he does improve, but not enough. And Kimi Harpla bested him to P2. They may have time for one more lap. If 1 more minute 30 on the clock left. Enrico Born.
It's going to be tight getting another lap in, but I'm sure they'll give it a go.
Dominic Ladler 5/10 off in Sector 1. This won't be a new personal best, perhaps. So Ronan Hood, who called it quits for this session so far, just in front of him. And we have Maximilian Dehn, Kimi Harpla, Alizai in front of them. Mark Hewitt actually bested Enrico Bräuninger for 6th. And if you think back to the last race in Spa, I think that was very interesting between the two of them.
Oh, Dominic Ladler getting on the power a little bit too early at the hairpin there and spinning. So that's what any number of nails in the coffin of him doing a faster lap than he's done already.
Yeah, the big question will be who can win at the start. They are starting diagonally opposed, if you want to say so. They're not in the same row, but of course Dominic Ladler isn't too far behind. Julian Chico currently the best Audi in 8th. The top 3 really strong in itself. Maximilian Dehn actually ending the session on a 36.4. Julian Chico may be able to finish this lap. Gets very, very loose there though through the first one of the double right-hander. Won't improve on this one. And that is our grid set for the race. On pole, Maximilian Dehn, and followed by him, Kimi Harpla. Then it's Alizai and Ronan Hood. These two had a lot of fights in the past, and they are again added today. And then it's Dominic Ladler in 5th with Mark Hewitt, just behind. I don't think predictions are what we should do today.
No, we have a bad history with predictions, so let's not. Oh, big bets coming in for Rowan de Herd winning.
That will definitely be interesting. You see some flashes in the background. Very typical procedure here at RENNSPORT. We hear the engines come to life. The red lights are on. And we go racing. Season 6 finale. It's been a good getaway from all top Porsches. And we go in a formation of a train. Dominic Lala going a bit wide, and that's one of the Porsches in the background spinning. I think that was Ruben Chico just being able to ride Ron and Hood diving down the inside of Alizaya. Slight contact between the two of them, but already up into third and now chasing down Kimi Harpala. Dominic Lala just behind them. Alizaya seemingly not too happy with Ron and Hood's move there. Enrico Bräuniger improved to 6th. Mark Heworth now behind him. Up front though, Kimi Harpala having a slight look down the inside. Dominic Lala around the outside of Alizaya with a big drift out of the hairpin. But now in the slipstream, he can make the move work and moves up into 4th. And on the back bumper of Kimi Harpala is Ronan Hood. He's trying to go around the outside. Kimi Harpala is forcing him wide. And this is helping Dominic Ladler because he can get close to that Porsche of Ronan Hood. Further fighting behind Mark Heworth against the two Audis of Dennis Kurzer, who's moving up into 8th. No, into 7th actually. Great start to this race for Dennis Kurzer. Slight bump there from the BMW, but nothing Dennis Kurzer can't handle. But after one lap, we have Maximilian Dehn leading Kimi Harpala, Ron Den Hood and Dominic Ladler. Enrico Bräuniger in 6th.
Yeah, we've got a fairly close pack from 2nd all the way down to 6th at the minute. They're not quite in a touring car style train, and somebody went spinning off there in a BMW.
Yeah, that was Mark Heworth. I think it was, they tried to go 3 wide through turn 1 at Hockenheim, which you don't quite do. It helped Tony Thomas, who so far this season has really shown how consistent he is, and which led him to still be P5 in the standings. So for him actually, P5 is at stake. A top 5 finish in a championship like this is nothing to scoff at, so seems like a good run for him.
Definitely not.
Dominic
It's a bit of a
Lala.
Porsche train right now, with Porsches all the way down to 5th place. And our first non-Porsche being Enrico Bräuniger in his now trademark Vantage.
Yeah, and then we have the 3
out from the Shark livery.
Yeah, indeed, since Bar he uses the Vitality Liberty, but also the 3 Audi train. We had this in the finale last season, if you remember. Slightly different drivers, but still 3 Audis moving up the grid together. And out front, Maximilian
Thomas is... We are tripping each other today.
Well, it's exciting. I think you can't blame us for that.
Gap between Rowan Dodd and Dominic Ladler staying roughly half a second right now. Dominic obviously got the toe from Rowan, who's starting to lose it a bit from Kimi Harpala. Alizar here only 6/10 behind there. And then in the Audi train, Dennis Kurtzer, Julian Chicot, Tony Thomas, who I think might have just crashed because he's gone tumbling down the order.
Yeah, indeed, he lost a lot of time, but the car seems to be in good shape. Vladislav Pironkiewicz up into 10th through all of this. I think the Porsche we've seen spinning off at the start, that was Joel Soraya. Yeah,
Dominic Ladler must have made a little bit of a mistake. See, the gap's dropped back to 1.3 seconds to Rowan de Herd now.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, Ronan Hood is now having clean air as well, because 1.5 seconds to Kimi Hapler, you don't really feel the dirty air anymore. But yeah, it will be all about the long run. And keep in mind, Dominik Lalla needs more than this one position, because he has 12 points of a deficit to Ronan Hood. So he needs a couple of cars between him and the Dutchman to win the title. But of course, getting in front of him would already be important to begin with that process.
Yeah, he really needs to. Simple. It's really easy. All he has to do is catch up and overtake Road to Hood. I'm sure it'd be super easy to do. And then make up 2 seconds to Kimi Harpler.
You see some very slight damage to the front right of Dominik Lalla's car. Of course, with that field punching up at the start, probably from there.
He does seem pretty effective at closing up on De Hood. The gap has come down to 0.8 now. He'll start getting some real slipstream effect from De Hood on the fairly long straights we have at Hockenheim.
Yeah, slipstream is very powerful around here in certain areas. Of course, you have the parabolica, a long run into the tight hairpin, and even if you don't get somebody there, you can use the slipstream in the run towards Mercedes Arena, into that left-hander. Also a very good spot to retake a position you lost.
Yeah, we've got a fairly good history of switchback moves coming into the hairpin in the next corner.
Of course, for today the focus will be mostly on these two drivers. I think we rarely had a championship showdown like this.
Yeah, they've usually been fairly settled by this point. It's not often we've had like a real decider as the last round. So it's good to see, and I'm sorry to anyone watching if we carry on about De Hood and Ladler too much.
Maybe to stay on that topic. Throughout the season, we've seen lots of things happen. If we think back, as Julian Chico is now making a move on Dennis Kurzer, the two Audis swapping position, both struggling to get the power down, but I think Julian Chico got the move done here. But yeah, if you think throughout the season, it started in Jeddah, I think in a very controversial way, with the few collisions we had there, involving Ronan Hood and Kimi Harpala. But we've seen so many different races. I think Spa, especially 2 weeks ago, was just a testament to how good racing in the Community League has become. If you think back to Season 1, Season 2, it is very, very different. I think a lot closer than it used to be, which is always great to see, as Dominik Lalla has just run a bit wide than he should have or would have wanted to.
He did do a bit of an expensive lawnmower impression there. But yeah, the racing in the community is maturing all the time, and not just with the well, not with the age of the drivers, but the actual quality of the racing always seems to be improving, and it's a great thing to see, because we are a young community. The game isn't even fully released yet, so it's good to see some of the regulars turning up. We get new people coming in and making a bit of a splash, like we have done a few times this season, and it's good to see the racecraft improving all the time and the quality of the races.
Yeah, and also we see, of course, people come and go. There will always be new drivers. Mark Hewitt, I think, one of the biggest examples of that. Unfortunately, not in this race anymore after his off with the collision with Julian Chico. But Spa last time around was an absolute blast of a race for him. I think Dominik Lalla brought him into the game originally, but he could improve and be one of these top guns to always reckon with. And if you think back to, I think it was Season 1 actually, which also had the finale and first race set here at Hockenheim. I don't know if you remember, but a certain Remco Major thought of a fairly quick Tim Schroeder back then.
Wow, that is going back some time. I can't remember that far. I can barely remember what I had for breakfast.
Well, I can agree on that because I didn't have breakfast in all honesty, but
typical Lino stuff.
Indeed. But yeah, indeed. I mean, Season 1, I think, was just so different in pretty much every aspect, and now we are looking at pretty good GT3 races all around. We had some controversies along the way within the racing. Certain 4 wide in Spa into no name, which didn't really go out as you may imagine.
It wouldn't be GT3 racing without some, well, motor racing without some controversy. You've got to expect that. It's almost kind of required. But yeah, we've had a few interesting moments along the way, and a few maybe harsh words on Discord about some of them. But it's good to see the guys coming back every time and having good racing for us.
Even though a lot of things change. Go ahead.
Give you a little fastest lap update. Rowan de Herd's fastest lap is 137.302. And Dominic Ladler's fastest lap is 137.331, so 0.03 of a second in it.
It really isn't much deviating between these two drivers. But through all the things that changed and through all the things that evolved over time, I think one thing stayed pretty consistent with only a few exceptions, and that is this car of Dominic Ladler. He's driven it to his first championship in Season 1. And it was actually the livery I first met him with in Daytona, in just a random race. Me and my DreamHack Audi against him in his DreamHack Porsche. And he's driven the M4 on occasion, but for RCL he mostly stuck with this car and this livery, which I find very cool to see.
Yeah, it's good when a driver picks a favourite car livery combo. It makes it so much easier for us in the commentary box. But also it gives you a bit of an identity in the game overall.
Indeed it does. Meanwhile, Julian Chicot has lost position to Dennis Kurzer again. He's now trying to close in on him. Does have a better one exiting the hairpin, but Dennis Kurzer with more speed being able to keep the position. Of course,
these two seem to be having a really good fight.
They're seemingly having a lot of fun with it. Both, of course, notorious for driving this car. I think Julian Chicot we've also seen in the M4 sometimes, but for most of the time, both of them driving the Audi R8.
Which, we are both Audi R8 fans. Let's not beat around the bush.
That's very true.
Slight bias in the commentary box.
I mean, this livery that Dennis Kurzer is driving has also been present a long time in RCL before he picked it up recently. Because it was the livery a certain Joachim Thunder used to drive in. Driving it to multiple top 3 finishes.
He's not been driving with us so much recently, but Dennis Kurzer seems to have picked up the baton and the livery, and he's been doing really good. It's always great to see him in races. Julie Chicot having a little look down the inside, but thinking better of it for now. Dennis Kurzer giving him plenty of space.
Just intimidating him into going a bit wide and now having the run down the front stretch, or not the front stretch, but down the parabolica. Should give him a shot into the braking zone. Switching headlights while braking.
His headlights. Still 1.2 seconds behind Kimi Harpler, but flashing his headlights. Not sure what that was about.
Habits. If you think about it, who invented the Schroeder flash? Well, Tim Schroeder, but he was also Dutch, so...
Yeah.
Maybe not a coincidence after all.
Yeah, maybe. I've never driven over there, but maybe it's an awful... Actually, I have. That's a complete lie. I can't remember seeing a lot of headlight flashing, but it was a while ago.
I actually haven't, even though I'm not far away from the German-Dutch border. I actually wanted to go to Zandvoort a long time, but never really materialized. Atomic Lala just slightly giving way to Ron and Hood because the gap has increased to 2.3 seconds. Alizai behind as well. Of course, Alizai usually you would see in an AMG. Today back in the Porsche.
Just trying to throw us for a loop by going over it in Porsche.
Just a quick mention, Radoslav Pironkovic having a good race. He, I think, hurt his foot the week. I will just try to find out what exactly happened. But he said something like it.
Radoslav Pionkovic as well, sticking with the Iron Dames livery, which it's still a great livery. It was a bit of a flavour of the month for a lot of people, but he seems to have stuck with it, and I'm glad someone has, because it does deserve to be on track.
Yeah, I mean, indeed, I think he really found a livery he likes with it. Can't exactly... Ah, there it is. He twisted his ankle yesterday, so he's back in the car today. I think it may still hurt. If that's the case, then kudos to him. Big kudos, actually. I know how much it can hurt with a... well, foot that hurts. It's not really helping things, but he's doing a very good race here, 9th. We're a very consistent driver, so he's also got his championship positions by just being there and picking up the pieces, much like Tony Thomas.
I'm assuming if he's hurt his ankle, he's probably not got a load cell pedal, because otherwise that would be magnitudes worse.
Maybe he's just one foot braking.
Maybe.
Well, he hurt his left foot, and I mean, there are some of the older guard, let's call it that way, in the real GT3 world. Some drivers who I think still right foot brake. Left foot brake. No, right foot brake. This way.
Right foot brake.
Right foot brake. Left, right, not so easy, right?
I used to endurance race with someone who he occasionally drove track days in a real car, and so he always used to right foot brake, and he eventually decided to try and learn to left foot brake and got used to it, but I found it very bizarre that he was right foot braking in a Simcoe.
Have you ever tried left foot braking in your real car?
Now, I once did a track day, and I was driving a Lamborghini, and in the first corner, I left foot braked. And as I came out of it, the instructor guy next to me said, "Did you left foot brake into that corner?" And I said, "Yeah." I didn't really think of anything about it. I just sat down and started sim racing. And he said, "Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that again." But I think I went a bit heavy on the brakes.
Well, that's usually the experience you will have. I accidentally did it in an automatic one.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, the brake pedal in your normal economy car isn't quite as stiff as your Civic.
No.
So there's a certain difference to it.
I got given the piece of advice when I first drove an automatic, because I passed my test in a manual, and someone said to me, "Get your left foot and put it underneath the driver's seat and don't move it." And I think I didn't do it once, and I did try to brake with my left foot, and it was not a pleasant experience.
Well, I also learned on manuals, and actually took a long time until I drove automatic. It wasn't until I worked in a car workshop that I really started to drive automatics here and there. And yeah, it was different. Let's put it this way. It was a bit irritating. Of course, in the menu you don't left foot brake, but when you shift or try to do stuff, you of course use your left foot. So yeah, kind of wanting to use left foot as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's when you go to try to use the clutch. Because for anyone who hasn't driven an automatic car, the brake pedal's quite a bit bigger. So at some point, you won't really be thinking you'll come up to a roundabout or some traffic lights or something, and you'll put your foot down to use the clutch, and it's the brake.
Real car advice while we watch virtual cars go around the track. But coming back to those virtual cars, Maximilian Dehn at this point leading by nearly 5 seconds over Kimi Hapler. Ronden Hood not too far away, only 2 seconds. Dominic Lada a further 3 seconds. So as it stands right now, of course, Ronden Hood becomes a 2-time champion in RCL. With another runner-up finish for Dominic Ladler. Alizar really dropped off the pace quite a bit. I think he got caught up in some lap traffic as well.
Yeah, they have started lapping a few cars. Car number 14 has been lapped, who is Drakaz BK, which he did his best to keep out the way, but well, there's only only so much you can do around a track like Hockenheim. You could probably going to get in someone's way at some point. Dominic Ladler and Rowan Hood's last lap was exactly the same time, 1:37.654.
We're not talking about roughly the same, we are talking about exactly the same, down to 1,000. I don't think we had something like this before, had we?
No, I don't think we have. Especially when they're 2 seconds, well, nearly 3 seconds apart, so it's not even like they were just following each other.
I also think that Ronden just really settled into his rhythm. It doesn't seem like he is trying to hunt down Kimi Hapler. I'm sure he knows that he also doesn't have to.
No, he seems to be playing the championship game pretty well here, which is good to see. And I think it's another continuation of him growing as a driver, which we've seen over the last couple of seasons, I'd say. He seems to be playing a bit more of the game, the racing game, in his head a bit more, and understanding what beyond what's going on this exact lap.
Meanwhile, Maximilian Dehn is going for the full point scoring again at Hockenheim, which is something we have seen last season as well. So that would be 28 points for him as it stands right now, unless somebody can beat his best lap time.
Yeah, nobody. The closest person right now is Kimi Hapler, who's doing a 1:36.8. Max Dean on a 1:36.585. So he's still 3/10 shy, and probably less likely as the race goes on, unless somebody really wants a few extra points and ducks in to get some fresh tyres. Or, yeah, maybe, who knows?
Who knows indeed. Meanwhile, I actually lied because it will be 30 points for Maximilian Dehn. Still have 12 cars in this race. It's actually interesting that we have a higher DNF rate here today compared to last time out in Spa, which was, I think, a lot more contested. I mean, Spa is probably the most fought for racing track in GT3 cars. It's 7 kilometers of wide or relatively wide track, which allows for a lot of moves.
Yeah, and there's some really big drafting zones at Spa, which always lets people catch up a little bit. But yeah, I'm surprised that there were more DNFs here today. People seem to be doing pretty well. There's a lot of drivers spaced out now, so it's maybe a bit less action-packed than it has been at Spa. But we've still got 20 minutes to go. So I'm sure it's not all done and dusted just yet.
Still have to bring it over the line after all.
That's very true.
For Tony Thomas, actually, with the current result, he would still remain in 5th position in the championship, 3 points ahead of Ali Zayos on 90, Enrico Buoni behind on 79. We have 4 cars surpassing the 100 points. Julian Chicot on 113, Kimi Hapla on 115, because actually between the two of them, only 2 points, which basically equates to 1 position, 2 positions, depending on who loses or gains a position. And then Dominic Lalla in 2nd on 138, Ron Den Hood on 152. So, yeah, further behind, championship is still quite open for the podium spot.
Kurtzer, Pionkovic and Thomas are all currently lapping within a 1/10 of a second of each other. They're a little bit further apart. There's a 5-second gap and a 6-second gap. But the consistency tends to, as you go down the field in these kind of races with a bit of a skill gap, the consistency becomes a bit less consistent. So right now,
just ran a bit wide while you're talking about consistency. Maybe the Tim cursing is striking again.
Yes. So yeah, those gaps are maybe a bit less meaningful than they would be at the front of the grid.
Isaiah was caught up again by lap traffic. He's really unlucky today with that.
Yeah, he's normally very good with lap traffic as well. I wonder if it's because he's driving the stealth Porsche and not his normal Dazzle AMG.
He's basically going back to the roots if you think about it. He first raced in RCL, I think it was either in season 3 or 4 at Monza. Back then with the normal black Porsche. Before he then switched to the AMG. Which brought him to numerous victories. But of course, with the end of this season, another one will come in the future. I think this season has been a big improvement over the last one in many areas. So I'm hoping we can continue this trend, of course. And the next schedule, or the next season, of course we will tell you more about it in the Discord next week, or in 2 weeks on Monday. But a little sneak peek at the schedule may not hurt. And there we have it. We will start off at the Nürburgring. Some people hate it, some people love it. I may be biased in that, but I really like what we've seen at Nürburgring. We had some very great races there in recent times, both in RCL but also in our private community leagues. The ERC race which took place there, which also just recently concluded its championship, was pretty good. Then we go to Road Atlanta. Of course it had to be on the season 7 schedule. Monza and Spa, I think this season showed why they should be on the calendar. And then we go back to this place before we have a community vote once again.
Yeah, and you've got most of the kind of community favourites up there in the regular schedule there, so I wonder what's going to crop up in the vote.
Quest.
Maybe some beta action.
That would be hilarious. Actually, haven't fully decided yet, I think, but just putting beta, quest default, and quest chicane in there. I think it will be a blast for a season finale.
I think that would be painful for the drivers and us in the commentary booth.
Well, here is a look at the current standings, how they would look if things play out as they are now. So we see RENNSPORTs on those 152 points. Some shuffling further down. Maximilian Dehn actually getting past Sven Gehlhut, who raced in Monza only and dominated the field there. I think Maximilian Dehn also
Kimi Hapler getting past Julian Chicot, I think.
Yeah, indeed. Kimi Hapler by 2 points, getting past Julian Chicot. I think Julian Chicot had a bit of a season where he could have sometimes prevented some point losses, but overall a much more consistent season than what we've seen before. So I'm looking forward to have him back next season, because then he will probably be a big threat for the top 3 positions.
Am I right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but am I right in thinking that next season we'll have open setups as well?
Of course, that will be a big thing as well. Of course, setups are open on the Nordschleife League, that's where we started, and on the Elite servers. So, whether they will be open in RCL or not, you'll have to wait a bit to find out. I think it's a highly contested point. But, yeah, it will come to more events. And of course, talking about open setups, next week we will have an open setup event. On Sunday, the
Nice.
Florida Beach 500, an 87 lap race at Daytona, hypercars and GT3s. You can still qualify for it. There are still the hot lap servers out until Wednesday 11 PM, so with the AM. So with the schedule change, the qualification time ends. English. But yeah, it still has some slots open to be fought for. It will be open setup. The Daytona 2.4 hours we did earlier this year in February, I think it was pretty fun. And this one should be a big upgrade to that, especially with those open setups opening up a lot of possibilities. Potentially pit strategies with tires as well.
I think it's the first time we've had open setups with the hypercars as well.
That's very correct. First time, of course, in an official event. On the regular schedule, you can have open setups on the hypercars if you just drive in the elite servers. But yeah, for a public event, this is the first time. If you want to find out more, we have some posts on social media explaining it, or in the Discord if you want a more detailed description. Just go to Community Sporting and RENNSPORT community events. One thing that won't be open setup, but which won't be a big thing in that sense, is of course the Creator Cup tomorrow. 3 tracks, 3 races, and I think roughly 14 creators for this time. We had some more, but unfortunately some fell ill, which may happen in summer. So
it does tend to happen, unfortunately.
But I'm very much looking forward to it. If you haven't seen it yet, we have the after movie of the first Creator Cup on our socials and on YouTube Shorts. It was a very, very funny event. Of course, it's not the type of racing you see here in RCL, while Dominic Lala has reeled in Rondenhood to 1.4 seconds. So maybe he's getting a bit of a tire advantage here for the last 11 minutes. But yeah, the content creators, of course, always entertaining in their own ways and very different characters on track. You have some people returning from last time and some new ones.
The last content creator event we had was a lot of fun, and the drivers all seemed to have a good time. And yeah, it was some good racing on track and some crazy antics. It was great to see all the reactions and streams afterwards.
Which most of them are actually still online for. So go ahead and check them out if you want to have some content before tomorrow. But yeah, 8 PM it will start, 8 PM CEST that is. And most of them will also stream their POVs and reactions, of course.
Yeah, and some of them have been driving in the last week or so to get ready for it, so they've been doing a bit of joining in with some of the public events, and it's been great to see them active in the Discord and in the game.
The last 10 minutes in this race have started. We have 1.4 seconds separating 4-time champion and defending champion, and both title contenders. But yeah, we've established at this point, it doesn't change too much if Dominic Lala gets past, but it will set a sign, I think, if Dominic Lala can get past Ronan Hood in those closing stages.
Yeah, I think it'd be definitely him making a statement if he can get past. The gap is slowly closing up. Ronda Hood has been making a few little mistakes recently. His last lap was pretty quick, but he's been running a little bit wide in a few corners, and that's just allowed Dominic Ladler to creep a little bit closer. He's still got a way to go before he's in any kind of attacking range, but they're both putting the hammer down here. Rowan's last lap was a 1:37.1. Dominic Ladler's was a 1:37.3. Kimi Harpler and Max Dean both running in the low 37s.
Yeah, well, Dominic Ladler was super close to winning a pretty long race here at Hockenheim. I think it was a 2-hour race in the race special event. But just a few minutes from the finish, he got overtaken by Ray himself late on in the race. So maybe today he's doing a bit of the opposite. By trying to challenge Rondon Hood.
The more try-hard of our content creator participants.
I think you can say it like that, yeah. But yeah, very great content creator and a very great person as well. Oh, but Dominic Lala big drift into the Motodrome and somehow catches it without losing too much time. It won't do his tires much of a favor, even though that's not as big of a thing anymore as it used to be, but it still doesn't help the cause. But what a drift it was.
That's just his special technique. If you think of it as an anime, he's pulling out all the special moves now, trying to get closer to Rowan Hood.
Václav Pionkovic has also slowly been gaining on Dennis Kurzer, 2.5 seconds. Now the gap is fluctuating a bit because Dennis Kurzer has made a bit of a mess of the hairpin maybe. But yeah, he's closed it in from I think around about 5 seconds, 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, Dennis Kurtz's last lap was a 1:41, so he's about a second and a half, 2 seconds slower than he normally would be at this point in the race. So that's really allowed Radoslav Pionkovic to close up there, but you don't want to be giving people a sniff of you making mistakes at this point, because it's only going to kind of fuel them and focus them to go faster.
One thing that's kind of ironic for this last race that again is proven correct is that Enrico Bräuninger is somewhere in no man's land. Top 5 cars, just a bit too fast for him to keep up, but also no real competition from behind. Caused by a bit of a messy start, which caused him to have to catch up to the cars he'd usually be fighting, but yeah, typically this season he was pretty alone on track.
Yeah, as a perpetual no man's land driver myself, I feel that pain. You tend to get 10 minutes of good racing at the beginning of a race and then a very big hot stint.
So, seemingly also getting hotter for Rowan Hood. 1.5 seconds now. Dominic Lala using every inch of the track he can find. Every little curb, every little bit counts.
Yeah, 5 minutes left. They're both going to be putting it all on the table for here. Rowan Hood got the added bonus that he's got everything to lose if something goes wrong, whereas Dominic Ladler has kind of got nothing to lose and can just throw it all out on the track.
It's like it slid a bit wide there. He's making it up on the exit, but it's always this 1.4, 1.5 second barrier that it's hard to crack, seemingly, for Dominik Gladler.
Yeah, Rowan seems to be answering pretty well, putting a bit of extra pace into his laps and maintaining the gap there. Like I said before, he made a few mistakes a couple of laps ago, but he's been pretty flawless since then.
Only 6/10 between Radoslav Jonkic, just running very wide again, and Dennis Kurzer. Oh, and Radoslav Jonkic diving down the inside. Dennis Kurzer braking a bit earlier, trying to keep the momentum up around the outside, which he does, but now Radoslav Pionkiewicz in slipstream in a good position into the hairpin.
It all depends how much he can make up on the parabolica here, and how much that slipstream comes into effect. He's going to have to be very brave on the brakes to make a move here.
Exiting the hairpins side by side. It's drag race towards Mercedes Arena. And it seems like Dennis Kurzer is winning it, but Radoslav Pionkiewicz is having a look down the inside. Fighting for P8 like it's the World Championship.
Well, it's the most important position to you is always the one that the guide head has, isn't it? So
that is very true.
They're all equally as important.
But these two are actually not too separate in the standings as well, because currently with this playing out as it is right now, Dennis Kurzer is on 72 points and Radoslav Pionkiewicz on 66. Of course, this position change wouldn't change a position actually in the standings, but it would get them even closer. But with 2
Gap
minutes
between Hood and Ladler seems to be seesawing backwards and forwards at the minute. I think there's a little bit of pressure getting to both of them and making some little mistakes.
Yeah, 1.2 seconds now. At this rate, not enough for Dominik Gladler. Basically only needs one chance in the final lap. Radoslav Jonkic again having a look down the inside. Dennis Kurzer running a bit wide again into the hairpin, but having a good exit to make up for it. So no way for the Polish man to get past yet. But as it seems, we have one more lap after this one. And also one more traffic encounter, because the 14 of Drakash BK is just up the road. And I think also the 8 of Tony Thomas.
Yeah, the 8 of Tony. Yeah, you're right. Tony Thomas and Drakash very close in front of these two.
And I'm looking
to see Road to Hood start flashing his lights pretty soon.
Said and done, he did it. But we are starting the final lap now.
Oh, Rowan's got a pretty good place to get past, to be honest. It's not bad. See if Dominic can get past as well, or if they're both going to get held up into T1.
Oh, but Dominik Gladler is being held up, and there has been some contact. And I think that now saved Ron Hood from losing third place.
I think it has, yeah.
Radoslav Pionkiewicz diving down the inside of Dennis Kurzer. And into 8th place he goes. Took him a few tries, but... Oh, and Dennis Kurzer losing the car. Just ever so slightly. Maybe underestimated the grip loss a bit.
Celebrating with a 6360.
Maximilian Dehn into the stadium section for one final time. Maximilian Dehn winning the final race of Season 6 here at Hockenheim. Kimi Hapler coming second, but Ruan den Hurt coming home third in this race, but being our Season 6 champion, defending his crown. And Dominik Ladler coming home in fourth. He tried everything to get that P3, but in the end it's P4 for him, P2 in the championship. And I think being either first or second in any RCL championship, that's still quite the achievement. Dennis Kurzer and Radoslav Piwonkiewicz crossing the line and coming home, well, close together at least. Julian Chicot just misses out on the top 3 in the championship standings.
Yeah, I think for any other driver, we would have been more than happy to congratulate them for a second place in a championship yet again. But it's the number of times Dominic Ladler's won. It maybe kind of makes it a bit business as usual, I suppose. Whereas second time winning for Lord de Hood, it's good to see him carrying on and winning another one, back-to-back championships.
So I was doing some donuts in the area here at the end. You could hear that. Fortunately, not quick enough to show it here. But yeah, let's take a look at the final standings of this season. We see Ruan den Hurt on 152 to Dominik Ladler on 138. These two have been fighting throughout the season. All 6 races, gave it everything, I think. And then it's Kimi Hapler keeping third place, just 2 points. I can't talk anymore. 2 points ahead of Julian Chicot. And then it's Tony Thomas, 3 points shy of Ali Zai. What a season it has been for Tony Thomas. He doesn't have the flashy results. I think he actually got a podium at Jeddah at the start. I will quickly
That rings a bell.
Find that out for you. Yes, he did finish third in Jeddah, of course, courtesy to a lot of chaos in front of him. But yeah, I mean, what a result for him. Top 5 in this championship with over 60 entrants. And just over 25 people with more than 15 points to their name. Which 15 points is quite a result as well. I think that's very respectable.
Oh.
And then we have our usual suspects, Ali Zai, Broniga, Kurzer, Piwonkiewicz, and David Baker in the top 10.
Yeah, David Baker, perhaps a noticeable absence from today's race, and only losing out to Piwonkiewicz by 2 points.
Not sure why the standings just now disappeared. I will get that fixed in just a moment's time.
But and they're back.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing I think from this season is how different all the drivers performed. We had some people who are just outright quick in some races, Sven Göld, Maximilian Dehn, David Sobrero, who really threw up, I think, the championship standings with their results in some races. But then you also had just the consistent scoring of the likes of Tony Thomas, Dominik Ladler, Enrico Breuninger. Dennis Kurzer, also one of these. He had a bit of, I think, an unlucky end to the season, but he had some very great drives. I'm looking forward to next season.
Yeah,
what next season brings. If we take a look, these tracks are, I think, very proven. Nothing that will really surprise anybody. But yeah, do you have any final words to say for the season of RCL?
Just that it's been a great season. It's been great casting with you again, Lena. It's been great watching you guys drive. Please carry on doing it. It's cool. I enjoy watching it and yakking. There's some good tracks, good old community favourites. Nothing surprising or weird going on there, but so we'll see what happens for the finale vote.
Indeed, I think that's a good way to put it. It has been also from my side an absolute pleasure to broadcast this season. It really motivates to carry on. Of course, racing action doesn't stop here. Tomorrow, the Creator Cup. Next week, we will have, I think, a very interesting race at the Nordschleife. And the Florida Beach 500, which I'm very excited to see how that pans out. And after that, of course, we will start with Community League Season 7. I'd say enjoy the trailer for the next season. A little sneak peek about what's to come. Thank you for being here, and make sure to check out the Discord and the socials for any news. Until next time, have a good time, and bye.
Goodbye.